Yo, what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in. It's Killer B. This is Conquering Your Inner Noob, Volume 1. It's an Age of Empires 2 related video that's focused on helping newer players and intermediate players get better faster at the game. Volume 1 here is going to have a single, simple lesson. It's going to be a short video. This whole series should be short. The concept is to tell you something you probably already know, but then actually try to convince you to go out and do the practice that you know you need to do. So here in lesson 1, we'll get into a concept. I'll show you some data, and hopefully I can convince you to actually go out there and get to work. Without further ado, the lesson of Volume 1, Conquering Your Inner Noob, is simply Dark Age efficiency. Now, Dark Age efficiency does not equal build order. Build order is more about where your villagers go and when. So a 22 pop scout build order might look like this diagram, where your first 6 villagers go to sheep, the next 3 to lumber, etc., etc. This is something I think that most new players have conquered and understand really well. What Dark Age efficiency actually means is keeping your town center constantly queued up with villagers. And believe it or not, the difference in efficiency between a new player and a pro player is several minutes. It's multiple minutes given away just because we're not keeping our town centers going. But don't just take my word for it. Let's look at the data. All right, guys, here is the graph that will hopefully bring this point together and convince you to go out and practice your Dark Age efficiency. So let me first tell you what I did, and then I'll show you all the data that I collected. So I went on Voobly and I watched a bunch of games, and I only recorded data when players went 22 pop scouts for their meta. So that means that they have 21 villagers, loom, 2 farms, 2 lumber camps, and a mill. Because each of these players is doing the exact same build, it reduces other variables, and it allows us to compare apples to apples. So Voobly rated players between 1.1 and 1.2K click up on an average of 10 minutes and 19 seconds. And that average is shown by this horizontal line. Each dot is an individual player. If we go up to 1.3K rated players on Voobly, what we find is, in my data set, is that the average is 45 seconds faster. And 45 seconds is nearly enough time to build 2 villagers. 25 seconds per vill, you nearly get 2 extra villagers head start if you're at 1.3K. If we continue to work our way up the Voobly ladder, we see continued gains, and these are actually huge numbers. We're back 41 seconds difference between 1.3 and 1.5K. And this is just a massive head start that you're giving your opponent. Again, nearly 2 villagers, about a vill and a half. As we get up to 1.8K on Voobly, and as we get up to 2.3K, we start to level out at around 8 minutes for an uptime. So if you're perfectly efficient through the Dark Age, you're going to be clicking up around 8 minutes with 22 pop scouts. What we can see is a couple things from this data set. The first thing is the glaring obvious difference between the average uptime for a new player, 1.1K, and a 2.3K player. There's over 2 minutes difference here. And if you gave your opponent, who's equally skilled in every other category, a 2-minute head start, they're going to beat you nearly every single time. That's just too massive of an advantage. The other thing that we can notice from this data set is that there is a huge range for newer players. And I think that this range reflects the inconsistency of new players at any game. When you first start out, you're going to have games where you play really well, really efficiently, and then you're going to have games where you're a full minute slower than you were the previous game. And this is not just a problem because you might lose that slower game. It's a problem because you might misattribute your loss to something other than your Dark Age time. You might think, hey, I must have chosen the wrong meta because I lost. But in reality, it could be that your opponent was up 1 minute and 20 seconds faster than you, and you were going to lose anyway. So this is why this is Volume 1 of this series. We have to go out and practice our Dark Age efficiency, especially newer players who are around 1.6K on Voobly or lower. If you're not practicing your Dark Age efficiency, you're going to lose games because of it, and you're not really going to know. You're gonna learn the wrong lessons from the games that you lose. What we want to do is get more consistent and get faster through the Dark Age so that we can actually start to lose games for skill-related reasons. There's no skill in the Dark Age. It's all muscle memory. It's all about just practicing and keeping your TC going and being really diligent about constantly building vills and doing loom at a really fast rate. So this video was short, and you should have time to go and practice a couple Dark Ages. Load up a game, you versus the AI. You're going to play as Byzantines because they don't get any extra villagers and they don't get loom for free. And you're going to play through the Dark Age. It's going to take you about 5 minutes. As soon as the Dark Age is over, you've built 21 vills, you have loom, you have the farms, etc. You're going to pause the game right as you're clicking up and record the time and start over. And each time you practice will take you about 5 minutes. If you do that 3 to 5 times right now, you'll get a really good starting point to figure out how much time you're losing in the Dark Age. And over time, you're going to see your Dark Age efficiency increase, you're going to see your times decrease, and you're going to start only losing games for reasons that have to do with skill. And that's going to allow you to learn the meta of Age 2 faster. It's going to help you learn how to micro faster. We're going to remove the variable of the Dark Age, and that's the big lesson here from video 1. It's as easy as that. Even Killer Bee can do it in under 8 minutes and 30 seconds. We got 4 villagers out on the mill. We have a couple of farmers here, low HP guys, 5 vills out on one lumber camp, 5 vills going over to the other lumber camp. It's just not that difficult. It just takes quite a lot of practice. And if you're scouting properly the whole time, you should even find your opponent. So thanks for tuning in. This is Killer Bee. Go get to it in practice, and I will see you in video number 2 very shortly. Much love. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.